My parents built a fence. It wasn't a normal fence. It was a tall, solid wall of wood that blocked everything. You could not see through it. You could not talk over it. It was there for one reason, to separate our family from the woman who lived next door. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let me know where you're listening from in the comments. My name is Alara. The fence went up when I was 12. Before that, I would sometimes see our neighbor, Mrs. Hayes, in her garden. She was an older woman with gray hair, quiet, and always alone. I would wave. Sometimes she would wave back with a small, shy smile. My parents hated her. They called her that bitter old witch. They said she was rude. They said she gave them dirty looks. They said she was trouble. I never saw any of it. All I saw was a lonely woman. The fence is for our privacy, my father said the day they built it. We don't need her kind looking in on us. What kind is that? I asked. The kind that wants to be left alone, my mother snapped. So we'll leave her alone. And you will, too, Alara. Do not talk to her. Do not go near that fence. Do you understand? I said I understood. But in my heart, I did not. The fence made our yard feel like a box. It felt wrong. From my bedroom window, I could see over the top of it. I would watch Mrs. Hayes. She would tend to her roses, slowly and carefully. She would sit on her porch in the evening, just staring at the sky. She looked sad, not bitter. One afternoon, a few years later, I saw a heavy bag of soil delivered to her front step. It was too big for her. She tried to drag it, but she couldn't. She looked so helpless. My parents were not home. I didn't think. I just acted. I went out our back gate, walked around the block, and came up her front walk. She looked up surprised. Hi, Mrs. Hayes. I'm Alara from next door. I thought you might need help with that bag. She stared at me for a long moment. Her eyes were a pale, watery blue. Then, the smallest smile touched her lips. That is very kind of you, dear. I suppose I do. I dragged the bag to her backyard for her. It was hard work, but I did it. Her backyard was beautiful, full of flowers and hummingbird feeders. It was nothing like the dark, angry place my parents described. Would you like some lemonade? She asked softly. I knew I shouldn't. But I said yes. We sat on her porch. We didn't talk much. It was a comfortable silence. When I left, she said, "Thank you, Alara." That was the beginning. It became our secret. Whenever my parents were out or busy, I would sneak over. I never went over the fence. I just used the front doors. I would help her with small chores. She would tell me stories about the flowers in her garden. She taught me the names of birds. She was not a witch. She was just lonely. And lovely. She told me she had no family. Her husband passed long ago. They never had children. It's just me and the sparrows now, she'd say. I started calling her Winnie because she asked me to. Mrs. Hayes makes me sound so old, she'd chuckle. My parents never suspected a thing. Their hatred for her was like the fence, solid, and they never looked beyond it. To them, she was a story they told to feel superior. To me, she was a friend. Last Tuesday, I saw the ambulance. It was parked in front of Winnie's house. My heart dropped. My mother stood at our window, watching. Probably just a fall, she said, not sounding worried at all. Someone that age, living alone, it was bound to happen. 2 days later, a black car arrived. A man in a suit came to our door. It was Winnie's lawyer. He told my parents that Mrs. Winifred Hayes had passed away peacefully. He gave them the details for the funeral service. My father closed the door. Well, that's that, he said. Are we going to the service? I asked, my throat tight. Absolutely not, my mother said. We are not going to pretend to mourn someone we didn't know or like. It would be disrespectful to the people who actually cared about her. She was our neighbor for 15 years, I whispered. And she made it clear she wanted nothing to do with us, my father said firmly. You are not to go, Alara. Do you hear me? It is not our place. It would be an embarrassment. They did not care. They truly did not care at all. The morning of the funeral was bright and sunny. My parents went to play golf. They told me to stay home. I put on a simple black dress. I walked out the door. I took the bus to the small chapel listed in the notice. I was the only one there who was not from the hospice or the lawyer's office. It was a tiny, quiet service. Just a few people. I cried for my secret friend. After the final prayer, the lawyer, the same man who came to our door, approached me. "You must be Alara," he said gently. I nodded, wiping my eyes. "Mrs. Hayes spoke of you often. You were very important to her." He held out a long, cream-colored envelope. It looked expensive and official. She was very specific. "This is for you. Her last will and testament. You are to read it first, alone." He placed the heavy envelope in my hands. I stood there in the quiet chapel, completely confused. Why would she give me her will? I walked outside into the sun. My parents' words echoed in my head. An embarrassment. Not our place. I looked down at the envelope. I broke the seal and pulled out the thick stack of papers. I turned to the first page. My eyes found the line that named the person who would receive everything. "I give, devise, and bequeath the entirety of my estate, both real and personal, to Alara James." The world went quiet. The papers in my hand were not just a will. They were a key. And my parents, on the other side of their high, proud fence, had no idea it even existed. I sat on a bench outside the chapel, the papers shaking in my hands. I read the words again. And again. It said I would receive her entire estate. Her house. Her belongings. Everything. A letter was clipped to the front of the legal papers. It was written in Winnie's own elegant, looping handwriting. "My dear Alara, if you are reading this, then my time is done. Please do not be too sad. I had a good, long life, and the last few years were made bright because of you. You were the only one who saw me. Not the bitter old woman your parents decided I was, but just Winnie. A person. For that simple gift of friendship, I can never thank you enough. I have no living family. The money in the bank and the house I own mean nothing to dust. But they could mean something to a kind young woman with her whole life ahead. I leave it all to you. Not out of charity, but out of love. Use it to build a life your parents' small-mindedness could never imagine for you. Be happy. Your friend, always. Winnie." Tears blurred the words. This was not just money. It was a message. It was her saying, "I see you too." It was the greatest act of kindness I had ever known. A deep, quiet strength filled me. I carefully placed the papers back in the envelope. I knew what I had to do. I went straight to the law office listed on the card the lawyer gave me. His name was Mr. Evans. His office was warm and full of books. He invited me to sit. "You've read the documents," he said. It was not a question. "Yes," I said. "It's overwhelming. Is it real?" "It is very real," he said with a kind smile. "Mrs. Hayes was a sharp woman. Her will is ironclad. Her estate is quite substantial. The house is paid for. There are investment accounts. The total is several $1,000,000. The number made my head spin. Millions. The woman my parents mocked as a lonely old hermit was a millionaire. "The process will take some months," Mr. Evans explained. "But as the sole heir, you are now the legal owner of the property. The assets will be transferred to you." I left his office with a copy of the will and a list of instructions. The envelope felt like a shield in my hands. My parents were home when I got back. They were in the living room. My mother looked up from her magazine. "Where have you been? Your face is splotchy." I didn't answer. I walked into the room and placed the envelope on the coffee table in front of them. "What is this?" my father asked, not looking up from his phone. "It's Mrs. Hayes's last will and testament," I said. My voice was calm. "Her lawyer gave it to me at the funeral today." My mother laughed a short, mean laugh. "What on earth for? To tell us she's leaving her collection of garden gnomes to the cat shelter?" "No," I said quietly. I pointed to the line on the first page. "Read it." My father put his phone down, annoyed. He picked up the paper. His eyes scanned it. I watched his face change. The annoyance faded. Then confusion set in. His eyes went wide. He read the line again, his lips moving silently. "What does it say, Robert?" my mother asked, her smile fading. He didn't answer her. He just kept staring. His face went pale. "Robert," she snapped, snatching the paper from him. She read it. Her hand flew to her mouth. The color drained from her face just like his had. The paper trembled in her grip. She looked from the will to me, her eyes wide with pure, utter shock. "It says," I told them, my words clear in the silent room, "that Winnie left everything to me. Her house. All her money. Everything she owned." "That's impossible," my father whispered. "There must be a mistake." "It's no mistake," I said. Mr. Evans, her lawyer, confirmed it. "Her estate is worth millions." The word millions hung in the air. My mother made a choked sound. She sank down into her chair, the will falling to her lap. For a full minute, no one spoke. The only sound was the clock ticking on the wall. I watched them. I watched the realization crash over them in waves. First, disbelief. Then a dawning, horrible understanding. Finally, a greedy, desperate hope. "All of it," my father finally croaked. "To you." To me, I nodded. "But why?" my mother asked, her voice weak. "Because I was her friend," I said simply. "Because I was the only one who was kind to her. She wasn't bitter. She was lonely. And you made sure she stayed that way. You built a fence so you wouldn't have to see her." "But I saw her." My father stood up, pacing. This changes things. "Of course, we'll help you manage this. It's too much for a young person. We'll need to meet with this lawyer. There will be taxes, investments." "I have a lawyer," I said. "Mr. Evans. And I will manage it." My mother looked at me, a new, calculating look in her eye. "Alara, honey, this is a family matter. This is life-changing for all of us. We can finally get out of this neighborhood. We can." "This is not a family matter," I interrupted, my voice firmer than I had ever used with them. "This is between Winnie and me. You made sure you were not part of her life. So you are not part of this." The finality in my voice stunned them into silence again. The roles had reversed. I was no longer the daughter they could order around. I was the heir. I held the power they always valued most, financial power. The regret on their faces was not for being cruel to a lonely woman. It was for being stupid. They had insulted a fortune that was sitting right next door. The fence they built to keep her out had kept them from the biggest opportunity of their lives. I picked up the will from my mother's lap. "I'm going to my room," I said. As I walked upstairs, I heard their hushed, frantic voices begin behind me. "What do we do? How could we not have known? All that money, right next door. We have to make this right." But it was too late to make it right with Winnie. And I was not sure they could ever make it right with me. The fence was still there outside. But a much bigger one had just been built inside our house, and I was safely on the other side of it. The following months were a quiet storm. The legal process moved forward. My parents' attitude did a complete turn. They were suddenly kind. They asked about my day. They called me sweetheart. They talked about family and sticking together. But I saw the greed in their eyes. They didn't want me. They wanted my inheritance. I turned 18 during this time. It made everything simpler. I was a legal adult. I met with Mr. Evans alone. We set up new bank accounts in only my name. The money from Winnie's estate would go directly there. My parents asked about the house next door every single day. "Such a big property for one girl," my father would say. "We could help you manage it. We could even move in, fix it up together." "I know what I'm doing," I would reply. And I did. When the estate was finally settled, I made my decisions. I did not sell Winnie's house. I moved into it. I left my parents' home with 2 suitcases. They stood at the door, their faces a mix of shock and fury. "After all we've done for you," my mother hissed, the fake kindness gone. "You built a fence," I said quietly. Winnie opened a door. I'm walking through it. I closed the door of my new home, Winnie's home, behind me. The silence was peaceful, not lonely. Her spirit was in the garden, in the books on the shelf, in the quiet comfort of the rooms. With the money, I did 2 things. First, I paid for college. I enrolled in a program for social work inspired by Winnie's quiet strength. Second, I started a small fund in her name. The Winnie Hayes Community Garden Grant helps neighborhood groups create green spaces so no one feels as alone as she did. My parents tried to contest the will. It failed. The lawyer showed the judge their sworn statement from the fence building permit, calling Mrs. Hayes a hostile neighbor. The judge saw the truth. My parents' own words prove their prejudice. I see them sometimes in their yard. The tall fence still stands between us. They look older. They look at Winnie's house, my house, with a hollow regret. They don't see a home filled with gratitude. They only see the fortune they pushed away. The revenge was not a loud fight. It was a quiet transfer of power. They spent their life judging a book by its cover. They never bothered to read the story. And in the end, they lost the treasure hidden in the final chapter. Never let someone else's bitterness build fences in your heart. The greatest fortunes in life are not always made of money. They are made of kindness, quietly given. You never know when a simple act of seeing someone, truly seeing them, will change your entire world. If this story reminded you that kindness is a superpower, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more tales where good hearts win in the end.